And they always, hey, thank you, Sarah. Okay.
Welcome.
All right, so we're just getting started with our class. We had a little technical difficulty with, am I on mute now? Hold on a minute. No, I'm not. Okay, great. We had a little technical difficulty with our Zoom technology, and so now we're recording. We're just getting started talking about some of the fundamentals around creating your job description. So again, that idea of clocking in and clocking out every day, I've noticed that with teams, they have, you know, tasks that they have meetings, they have certain things that start at 8 or 9 in the morning. And if you don't show up for those things, you're probably not going to be on the team much longer. And I will tell you, in my training as a team leader, they say, treat your office like a mega agent office. Treat your office like all your big teams treat their teams. And I think that's a bit of a misnomer, because we are not looking at our agents who aren't showing up and letting them go. We're working with them very hard to help them be successful and create some habits. So that's one of the things that we're here working on today. So with that said, when you think about building some structure around your life as a real estate agent, do you have a real estate job description? Do you know what that looks like? Have you ever thought about it? When you worked in other jobs prior to real estate and you were applying for those jobs, was there a job description that you read? Yeah. And when you decided to become a real estate agent, did you go on Indeed and was there a job description? Not, maybe you might have applied. Sometimes there's Indeed ads, you know, looking for a real estate agent, and there's some job descriptions, but did you really see a job description when you first started? Not really, right? Yeah, we actually have them. We have them. They're in the books that we've written and that sort of thing. So let's start there. There are actually 6 core competencies in the real estate business, and they are on page 38 of Shift. How many of you have read this book? Okay, we'll get you there. But I haven't read it yet. Okay. By the way, there's a really good Facebook group that talks about Shift every week. That's kind of fun. It makes it come to life if that's more of your learning style. So on page 38, the 6 core competencies of running a business. Before we go to what they are, what would you think would be the 6 core parts of your business? Lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiate contracts, caring for your clients. What goes from lead generation to negotiate contracts? Is there anything in the middle there? Follow-up, showing properties, getting contracts signed, getting sellers signing contracts, getting buyers signing contracts. Okay, so you're on the right track, and here they are. Why isn't this moving? We'll move it that way. So the 6 core competencies on page 38 of Shift are lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. So it's not just lead generate, it's lead follow-up, right? It's actually lead conversion, getting to the appointments, getting to the table. Then presenting to buyers and sellers to get your agreement. So there's some sort of buyer presentation and seller presentation that you do that gets them to agree to work with you. Yes? And then 3 is showing buyers and marketing sellers. So marketing the seller's properties. You're showing buyers properties, and as a listing agent, you're marketing. And then 4, write and negotiate contracts. 5, coordinate the sale to closing. So that's taking care of your clients, following through on making sure that it's a smooth transaction. And then managing your money. Oh, it was written a while ago, so it's in there.
It's like the five key activities of real estate.
Yeah, and they're very similar, but what the difference in is bold is skill development. They talk about the word we're not supposed to use anymore, which is dialogues. Yeah, and I like to say it's not just script practice. I like to say it's skill development, because it's not just it might be practicing your buyer presentation or practicing your listing presentation, or all those skills that you have are part of that, of what you need to do every day. Okay, So now you've got an idea of what the 6 core competencies are. And Annan is writing furiously. I love it. Because that's how you learn too. The more you write, the more it, there's like all that brain science about how that works with your brain. When you look at those 6, mark the areas that you need to put more attention into. Do you have a lead generation problem, issue? Are you generating enough leads for this year? Do you have a lead follow-up issue? Do you need to work on your skills for your presentations? Are you showing enough properties? Do you have enough listings, et cetera, et cetera? Could you put an asterisk next to areas that you need to work on? Okay, so far we haven't even talked about creating a calendar yet. Why is that?
Calendar is going to be in line with the goal.
Got to be in line with your goals and your job description. Wouldn't you agree? If we're about to create our own working calendar, we have to figure out what our job description is first. Does that make sense? So I like to start there with you. That's why you have to take 2 steps backwards to move forwards. I wanted to back up and make sure we had some fundamentals around what the job description is. And so now let's create it. Let's create that real estate job description based on the 6 core competencies that we just talked about. And before we do that, let's talk about what the 80-20 principle is. And you see that I have big rocks there. What is the 80-20 principle? 20% of your activities result in 80% of your business. So it's the Pareto principle. It's Vilfredo Pareto, back like 100 years ago, was looking at crops in Italy. You guys have heard the story, and discovered that 20% of our activities yield 80% of our results. So we call those your big rocks, those most important things that you will set everything else aside for to do. What would be some examples of big rocks? Lead gen. Because if you can't go on a listing appointment if you don't have the lead first, right? You can't work with a buyer if you don't have the lead first. So what does Gary Keller say? That there's 2 parts to your job: lead generation and everything else. There's lead generation and there's everything else you do. So 20% of your activities yield 80% of your results. The flip of that is also true, that 80% of our efforts yield 20% of our results. So when you think about your calendar and you think about the big rocks are 20%, the most important activities you do. The rest of it will yield, the 80% will yield very little result. It's really interesting to me that 80-20 principle shows up in a lot of places in life. Another way it shows up is that typically we talk about the top 20 agents in an office. Typically the top 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business. So it shows up in a lot of different ways. It tends to be a principle that's true over and over again. So is cleaning your desk a big rock? Makes you feel good, but is it going to lead to money? Not unless you find a lead. If you all of a sudden you can't find a lead and then you find that lead. But for the most part, if you're organized, cleaning your desk isn't going to lead to a money-making activity. So those 20% activities leading to the 80% results need to be money-making activities. All right, and now guess what? There's 2 ways to think about your business. There's growing your business and running your business. Did you know that? So what do you think is the difference between growing your business and running your business?
Well, growing is lead generation, and running is handling the content of business you already have.
Yeah. Growing is the lead generation, it's growing it. Running it is handling everything in the business. Okay, so should we break it down into what those activities actually are? Okay, we talked about the 80-20 principle, grow your business. So growing your business, on that side of your business, it's lead generate for buyers and sellers, make seller listing presentations and get listings signed, make buyer presentations and get buyer contracts signed, and previewing real estate. Why is previewing real estate important? Do we need to know the market in order to counsel our buyers and sellers? Right. So we need to know the inventory. So that's the growing the business side. Okay, and then running the business. So look, wait, let me, before I go any further, does this look like 80% or 20%?
20.
It's the top 20, yeah? Okay, so that's growing. So running would be the 80, right? Okay, let's look at it. Running your business, market seller listings, show buyer houses, negotiate contracts, transaction management to closing, vendor management, setting goals, compliance, risk management, attending trainings, getting coaching, managing money. Are those, do those things right there lead, are they money-making activities? Let me ask you it this way. Are they activities that you can leverage?
Some are.
Yeah.
I
At
wouldn't-
some level, you could leverage every single one of them.
I
which
don't
one
know
are
how
you-
leverage negotiating a contract. I would have to, tell me how that would be.
Yeah, okay, maybe that one I agree with you. Not necessarily leverage, because although if you have people on your team, they're negotiating, they might, if you have a seller listing specialist that's doing the marketing, they might also be doing the negotiation, and all you're doing is getting the listing signed. Buyer, you might have a buyer's agent that's doing the negotiation. So yeah, it's not necessarily something you're gonna leverage, but is it a money-making activity? It leads to making money. It's important for sure. So you would almost say that you would think that one goes on the other side. Okay. Any others? They're not-
Money making, there's a few on there that could be.
Still important?
Money retention, it's not, I mean, it's a combination of how much you earn, how much you keep.
Yeah, okay.
The vast difference. If you spend more than you make, it doesn't matter how much you make.
Well, let's ask you this. If you're not doing these activities, do you have these activities? Like, if you're not, if you're not lead generating, making lists, getting sellers to sign contracts, getting buyers to sign contracts, do you even have a contract to negotiate? Do you see the difference? It's like, one goes before the other. Okay. So those are the two areas where you think about in your business and you're creating a job description. We talked about the 6 core competencies, and now we talked about the difference between growing a business and running a business. Okay. Now let's spend a little bit of time talking about goal setting. Why would I start with job description and that sort of thing, and then move into goal setting before I even talk about calendar management?
You have to have a goal for your calendar.
Do you?
Well, you should be successful.
It would bring more clarity maybe to setting your calendar if you knew your goals first. What's the bold law around clarity?
How,
Clarity is power. Okay, does everybody know what their 2023 goal is for the end of the year? And that can be a gross commission income goal, it could be a units goal, a volume goal, or all the above. You all know it. And you have it, you have a tool that you use to help you keep that goal right in front of you. What are our favorite tools at Keller Williams? GPS and 411. So what's GPS stand for?
goal, position, strategy.
Yeah, it's going back to what is your 2023 goal? And then on your sheet, it's you on the one thing line there, it's writing that goal for the year. So I always say that you have one GPS per goal. Maybe you have a couple of personal goals in your life that you're setting, and you have a couple of business goals. You want to have one goal per GPS. You don't want to put them all in the same GPS. It gets too hard. So your one, let's say you have a units goal of 36 units you want to sell a year. How many would that be a month?
3.
3. Okay. So on your GPS, you'd say my one thing for the year is to sell 36 units. And then it's creating priorities around that one goal, and then strategies under each priority. So G stands for goal, P stands for priority, S stands for strategy. I also like to call it GPS goal plan steps. Sometimes I feel like the words priority and strategies are big fancy words that get confusing. And I think when you think of P as a plan and S as steps underneath the plan, it can maybe just make more sense. So either way, priorities or strategies or plans or steps. For me, the GPS is more of a macro view. It's more of your yearly view of what you're going to do. Okay. Does that make sense? And how many of you are using a GPS? Okay. Are you using a different planning tool, Kristen?
No. I mean, yes and no, doing something with my coach. but
Yeah.
I do like the GPS and the 411 and I want to get back to it. And that's why I brought my coach plan with me.
Awesome. Okay, I'm actually going to, so GPS for me is macro. You can go in there and you can say, I want to do 36 units a year. I'm just using it as an example. And then my priorities around that are going to be, priority 1 would be what? 18 seller closings. Priority 2 would be 18 buyer closings. And then your strategies underneath those. Okay, something like that would turn into your GPS. What's the reason for holding the open houses? Is it to sell that seller's listing or is it to gain a buyer? To me, that's a strategy underneath one of your priorities. Okay, he's gonna go get his. I'm actually gonna focus more with you guys on the 411, Joel, in case you want to come right back. To me, the 411 turns into our weekly job description, which is what we're talking about when we're talking about calendar management. Okay. So they go hand in hand together because on your 411, you've got your annual goal setting and this comes from the onething.com. And so it also has personal goals as well as business on here. But you've got what that annual business goal would be, which you can take from your GPS and put on here. So if our annual goal is 36 units, then our monthly goal would be what? 3 units a month, right? And then weekly, it would be what are the activities that you're doing to hit the monthly goal, which puts you in line to hit the annual goal, right? So for me, when you start writing these things down, that turns into more of a job description every week. So Joel, it might be holding open houses. If you're looking at typically 4 weeks in a month, it might be how many open houses, Joel, a month?
You did 40. Well, I did 60, so I did
5 a month. So at least 1 per week, right? Or you do 2 per week and you take 1 weekend off, something like that, where you're doubling up. Okay. What other weekly activities?
That's whatever your lead gen levers are.
Mine were 20 notes, 20 handwritten notes, 20 calls a week.
So that's staying in touch with your sphere of influence. Yeah. And so, and in what other lead gen levers would be part of your weekly plan?
So I'm gonna bring my 411.
You have a farm, so you're working on a farm, right? So farming would be one of, what activities are you doing each week to support that farm, right?
Yeah.
And putting those in there. Kristen, how about you? What are some of the weekly things that you do to support your annual goal?
Tracking. I mean, like keeping track of my activities.
Okay.
Because when I hadn't been very good at that. My coach is working with me on being better. And it helps me go, okay, now I'm seeing a pattern. I'm doing this week, this that week.
Okay.
And okay, where did I drop the ball?
Yeah.
Or conversely, like when my kid got married, my coach was able to look at it and she was like, you have been putting in a lot. You are good. It's okay for you to relax
A little bit.
a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
in your mind
Right.
and enjoy this moment.
Yeah. we're building careers worth having so that we can have lives worth living. And I'm going to come back to that part of what you just said about kind of letting your foot off the pedal for a little while to enjoy your life. Are going to come back to that part because it's really important.
That's a hard place to figure out sometimes.
Sarah, when you think about weekly goals, what are the things that are in your mind that you put in your calendar?
Goals or activities?
Activities, sorry. Either way. Social media posts. Okay, so you make sure you block time out to get those done every week. Or do you schedule them ahead of time? Okay, you do them live and all that kind of stuff. Okay, what else?
Honestly, I haven't been much lately, if I'm being completely transparent, but when I am trying to look best my best self, I'm going through my CRM and pulling new leads
Okay,
and keeping in contact with new leads.
what's been occupying your time lately? Because you're busy right now.
Cleaning up messy transactions, so they're not really money-making activities. They're trying to fix stuff.
Okay, because it's going to lead hopefully to money. You're not giving up on it. Okay, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
And you're showing property though.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, okay, you've got buyers, you're showing property too. So different things you're doing every week. So for me, the 411 is what can then much more turn into what you're putting on your calendar. I'm gonna give this to you now. I'll give it I can pass these up. These are your handouts, guys. Pass this back. There's 3 of them. Okay, so when you think about setting those goals, setting your activities every week so that it's something that falls in line with your,
No, I copied the calendar that she sent.
yeah, I've been working with them on this already. So when you think about creating goals that will be in line with your overall goal for your year, we always encourage you, I like to encourage you to make them SMART goals. And that stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. Okay, SMART. So if I was going to set a goal around social media posts, how do I make that specific?
Goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So how many posts am I going to do a day or a week? So that's specific. It's measurable. Measurable also might be how many hits am I hoping to get on it? So you're tracking some of that. Is it actionable? Can you take action on it? Is it realistic? Do you have time to do it? And is it time bound?
Oh, like the time to accomplish by.
Yeah, that you by the end of this year, I will have done this many. So then you backtrack on it. You set an annual goal and you turn it into a daily or a weekly goal, right? So any of the things that you're doing, trying to remember, and what was one of your daily activities or weekly activities?
I've got a 2-hour block for lead gen.
Okay, so in your 2-hour lead gen block, specifically, who are you lead generating to? Are you lead generating or lead follow-up?
I'm kind of using them like hand in
Mhm.
hand with each other. So it's like if it's something that's new that just popped in or somebody that the lead that I've yet to make contact with, it's just putting that on a task every time
Okay.
I finish a task. There's got to be another one, either via smart plan
Yeah.
or another task added to it. So
And in that 2 hours, are you reaching out to your sphere of influence or are you following up with a brand new lead that you met at an open house or an internet lead or,
yeah.
okay, both of those things. Okay, so specifically that's your audience.
So if and when I'm doing it well, it's like command. Any task that I have in.
You're caught up.
Yeah, so I'm like at 360 right now. So
Okay.
it's better than it was a couple days ago.
And so for 2 hours of lead gen, what's the measure on that you will contact how many people in those 2 hours?
Well, again, the best version of myself is they all get done.
I know, but during each day, is it like, I'm going to call 10 people, 20 people? I'm going to reach.
It's whatever the tasks are. on the
Okay.
list.
So based on the
so,
tasks.
I mean, if I've got 40 tasks to do today. then
Okay.
I have
Based on all of the tasks you've been setting. Okay. Yeah. And that's actionable. What you're talking about right now is actionable. Is it realistic?
I had this conversation with Joel at lunch, and no, it was just us being transparent with each other. It's not Joel's fault, although I'd like to blame it on him. Is like I did a social media campaign for like a 5-acre listing like 3 months ago, and I don't, other than like 5 acres now in the country, and it had a cute little barn on it and everything, like it's a manufactured home. So like it wasn't like glorious, but I had like 83 leads, and they're Facebook leads.
Okay.
So it's still like way top of the funnel. Maybe
Sure.
even, like,
Yeah.
not quite sure if it's going to the funnel or not. And they all like drop really close and really tight time frame. And
It was hard to get through all that.
it was hard to get through all of them. And I don't think I had them on the right smart plan. So I've got a better smart plan that's a little bit more engaging, that's a little bit more text heavy, email heavy,
Okay.
with some calls dispersed in between. But my takeaway from that is if I'm gonna if I'm gonna run a Facebook campaign for a listing or for whatever it is, then I either need to do it and follow up on it, or even don't bother to do it.
Right.
Because at this point, I've got people
Yeah.
that are 4 months out on the thing, they're wondering like, why are you calling me
Yeah. I don't even know who you are anymore. Right. Okay.
about what listing? So
That's
just
good
me
discovery.
getting real
So that
time.
turns into creating something time bound around it too.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate it. So here's what I want to say about time blocking, because this leads into what Andon just talked about is such a good example of this business being perpetual and getting busy, right? And trying to fit it all in, especially when you guys are solo agents too, that you don't have a bunch of leverage around you that gets some of the stuff done for you. Just a little bit of leverage. So a couple of things I want to talk about as we get into the time blocking. Number one is, remember, you're your own business owner. It's your business. What that means to me in a nutshell is you are allowed to hire yourself and fire yourself every single day. Are
Well, in
you
that case,
are you doing the activities today where you would hire yourself back the next day? It also means you get to create your own day. You get to decide when you clock in and when you clock out, right? Do you agree? How many people say they want to get into a real estate career because, oh gosh, I just blanked on the word.
flexibility.
It's flexible. Thank you. Because it's flexible. Oh yeah, I've heard it's flexible. I
And
can
I
make
love-
my
oh,
own
and I
hours. I
love
get to be,
houses.
and I love houses and I love
houses,
people
I love flexibility.
and people.
Oh, yeah. that's-
So you do though, you are your own business owner. It's your business that you own. You get to hire yourself every day. You get to fire yourself every day. You get to create your own day. You get to decide when you'll clock in and clock out. Would we agree focusing on your goals is important? And that focusing on your big rocks is important. Okay, so the win the day is a formula that to me just resonates every single day for me. And it kind of goes back to what Kristen was talking about family. There was some important family stuff in your life in the last few weeks that took precedence over everything else, because we have a business worth owning so we can have a life worth living. For me, winning the day allows me to be a business owner of my own business, and allows me to have the flexibility to have other things be important as well. And here's why. I love getting a good night's sleep at night. At my age, getting a good night's sleep is super important to how I function the next day. It's definitely, when I was younger, I could handle a lot less sleep or crazier activities and a lot less sleep, and I can't do it anymore. So I also like to have a clear head when I go to bed at night because I sleep better. Yes. And so if I can close up here around 5 or 6 every day and ask myself, did I win the day today? Did I do the activities that I needed to do, that I feel good about my efforts as my own business owner today, so that I can go home at night, enjoy my family, and get a good night's sleep without a bunch of stuff, you know, the frogs in your brain that are taking up space that are making you wake up in the middle of the night. And if you don't understand the frog analogy, we could talk about that later. So I like a good night's sleep at night. So that means by the end of the day that I'm looking at what happened, patting myself on the back for the things that went well, moving forward the items that I didn't get done that I need to work on tomorrow, so I can shut my brain down. So when you think about the win the day formula, if you win 5 days out of 7, would you say you've won the week?
Yeah.
If you win 3 weeks out of 4, would you say you've won the month? If you've won 8 months out of 12, would you say you've won the year? No, okay, 9 months, 9 months. Okay, 3 quarters, and you feel like you won it. Do you get what I'm saying though? Is that gives you that permission to set aside some time to go on the family vacation, to focus on the family wedding and all those other life worth living parts, because it allows you to put into your calendar those important things, right? And it's really just little steps at a time. Winning the day adds to winning the week, which adds to winning the month, which adds to winning the year. And I love this quote: people aim for nothing and still hit it with amazing accuracy. You can aim for nothing or you can aim for something, and either way, right, you're going to hit it. Okay, so that turns into this part, which is the time block part. And you guys are all have a MyKW email, which means you have Google Calendar that's connected to that. So how many people are using Google Calendar? Yay. And this is an example of Google Calendar. And this is an example of creating a working calendar that fits in with your real estate job description. And for me, the color coding really helps because I can look right at the calendar and know exactly what that activity is based on the color. So if you look at the very top, the very top says learning, lead gen, lead follow-up, business tasks, seller buyer appointments, and personal. I made personal pink because I'm female. You can make personal whatever color you want. So you have some time in there for learning. That top part becomes your key or your legend for every single week. And I can show you how to create that inside of Google Calendar so that every single week that shows up. Okay, isn't that cool? And then take a look at this. This is a 9 to basically 5:30 day. You've got personal time in the morning to do what you do. And that can be miracle morning. It can be whatever you're doing in the morning. It can be that you're getting some exercise, you're eating a healthy breakfast, you're doing some meditation, you have kids you have to take to school, whatever those things are. And then you start your morning with, remember the core competencies, we want some skill development in there. So if you marked on the core competencies that maybe you need to work on your negotiation skills more, your seller presentation skills more, so that your conversion rates on getting sellers to sign listings goes up, maybe you're practicing that skill development in the morning. Maybe you're doing dialogue practice with a buddy. Oh, it looks like I need to change that word in there. I have not done that yet. So and then we've got in there 2 hours of lead gen times 5. So 10 hours of lead gen for the week. Time for lunch, time for database management and input. So if you're doing it during your lead gen and follow-up, then you have it done. But if you are one of those that gets on the phone and you just keep going and cranking, and then you input everything afterwards, it gives you some time for that at 1 p.m. It gives you more time for some practice or attending the class like this. And then it gives you appointment time. I put it in 5 days a week as well as on the weekend. So appointment time on the weekend could also be what? Open houses, showing property, door knocking, appointment time in the evening as well, a couple of nights a week. I gave you a day off. I gave you 1 day off. But you own your own business. So if you want 2 days off, then you can choose, maybe I take Wednesdays off as well. Or maybe I win 2 mornings on Wednesday and Thursday, and I take Wednesday, Thursday afternoon off. Kristen.
For the past few years, in the month of December, I got really, I was kind of discouraged with the not having a life worth living around the holidays. And that was always fun for me to, enjoy my holidays. And so I started a couple years back giving myself, I work on Monday and Tuesday, and then I do half days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, during the month of December. And it has been amazing for me. Sometimes I can honor it.
Yeah, right.
But if I can't honor it, I don't feel bad. I have my own personal issues with guilt and I'm not doing what I should be doing that I have to work through on my own. But that has freed me up mentally to go, if I want to go play or go shopping or do something fun in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Yeah.
There's no guilt involved.
Right.
I don't have to. I mean, I've scheduled this in. I've
Yeah.
planned for it.
And that's another thing. I know you guys have heard this before because you've taken bold. You got to schedule those big events out for the year 2 ahead of time and make sure they're on the calendar. And a lot of times if it's a big family vacation or something that you want to have paid for ahead of time, right, as a goal, that makes you work towards that goal too, right? So those types of things, I'm not suggesting that we work 7 days a week. You've got to put some time in there where you're taking some time off for yourself.
What I like, what that means to rephrase what you just said. Intentionally, I want people to enjoy like the holidays.
Yeah.
So you're giving yourself permission by doing the calendar. Now, if somebody's like, I want you to list my house and there's no other time I can do it than 2 o'clock on a Thursday. And it's like, absolutely, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can be flexible
Right.
on that if that
But
time-
I'm not feeling
But-
pressured to fill that spot.
Correct, yeah.
For lack of a better
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's good.
Any other thoughts on it? Let me show you how you create the legend. So this is actually in Google Calendar right now. This is live. And I'm going to show you, did I share it? Hold on, let me go back into Zoom and share it. I did not share it. Got to do it so everybody can see it. Okay, so this is actually a live Google Calendar. So how do you create the legend at the top? Well, I'm just going to click on the first one, learning. And basically what you're doing is you go in there, you give it a title, learning, and then you make it an all-day event. And I put that one on Monday. So that one shows up. You see where it says weekly on Monday? And then I give it a color. And then you hit save, and then that will show up every single week on Monday. Just like that at the top, because you made it an all-day event, it shows up at the top, and I made it a Monday, recurring on Monday event. So the same thing for Tuesday, you give it a title, you make it a all-day event, and you make it reoccurring on Tuesdays and give it a color, and it'll show up. So I made learning yellow, lead gen, lead follow-up, absolutely green, because those are the money activities. Business tasks, you are going to have some business stuff that's going to show up. Seller and buyer appointments. Man, if you went on this many seller and buyer appointments every afternoon or every day, would you hit your goals without a doubt? So if you're not going on those appointments, what could be in place of that?
Lead gen.
Lead gen.
Thursday.
What's that?
Thursday.
Thursday. If you go out there and network,
Mhm.
that could be some lead gen, Joel. And of course, there's going to be some times where there's some home inspections and stuff like that you're going to have to put in. So have you ever heard of the term, if you erase it, replace it? Okay. So if you have to erase it somewhere, you replace it somewhere else. Because I know that there are some more of what I would call business task activities, which are the light green, that you'll put in here when you've got a home inspection or some of those kinds of things that you have to do. But if you scheduled that much time in the afternoon and on a weekend to be going on appointments, you'd hit your goals every single time. So that's how you create it. Do you guys understand how that works then, how you're creating it? So then basically what you can then do is you can click on this appointment here and you can edit it and you can put instead Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and then you put the address in and you save it, and then you know that you have an appointment with them on Tuesday, the 7th at 2:30 p.m., right? So every day of the week, this can be in there. And every day of the week, you can go in on these appointment open ones and you can put the name of the person that you're going to have the appointment. Now, if you think Mr. and Mrs. Seller is going to be more like 2 hours, then you can change that, right? And you can make Mr. and Mrs. Seller a 2-hour appointment. So 2:30 to 4:30. And it's going to show up like that. And then you just delete this appointment out. Okay. So then you see here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller are going to take 2 hours. Does that make sense? So it's in there and you're just going in there every single day and opening up each one of those. Look at this, you guys. It's every single week like this, every week. And you just go in each week and you schedule the appointment for what you have going on. Does that make sense? So this ends up being basically in the background of your calendar that you're looking at every single week. And would you agree if you use this in addition to your 411 activities, you could plug those weekly 411 activities into a calendar like this and have you created a working job description? Thoughts, questions? Is that helpful?
So I love the color coding and stuff. And how do you fix it when like somebody invites you to a meeting?
It's sort of an erase replace then. If you've got somebody inviting you to a meeting here and it's going to turn into green, then let me also say this. Kristen, you are the president of WAR, so you might have to put a few more green things in here than purples, right? So if you have, like, let's just say all Thursday afternoon, you know you're in meetings, then make those green, right? And instead of it saying appointment open, make it say meeting. Again, you're your own business owner, so this is just a sample. You can create this the way you want, which is what Andon's already, because he and I have been working on this one, what he's already started to do with his, right? I'm speaking for you, but is that correct?
It would be awesome too, for the fact like with my virtual assistant, then she, when I have.
You share your calendar with her, right? Yeah.
She can be like, oh yeah, Kristen's available at this time,
Yeah.
this time, this time, and then
There you
I
go.
just look at my calendar and like, oh, I've got to
Yeah.
here and here and
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you can easily show her how to do the color coding on it and she can get that set up for you. Basically, if you set it up for 1 week and make it be reoccurring appointments. So like if I open appointment open right here, I just have it every weekday, Monday through Friday set up there. So it just shows up 1 week after another, and then you can go in on that day and change just that day if you need to. It's a pretty amazing thing to do. My coach taught me that white space, so over here I have a little white space, is the work of the devil. That gets you into trouble, right? So that's why you see on here, there's not really a lot of room for white space. Now, one thing you might consider though is sometimes driving between one appointment and another is the white space. So make sure you give yourself some driving time. Something like that, like put that in. So actually on my actual calendar that I'll show you right now for today. No, there you go. I put a half an hour white space in between things. Oh, this is next week because so that I have transition time in between. So I will do a half hour. Like I'm meeting with Laura in Lebanon this afternoon. So I'm giving myself some driving time. I put it right in my calendar. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's just, let me stop sharing that. I want to go back to my slides really quick. We're almost done, you guys. I got to share this on Zoom again. So this again is just an example. And because you're your own boss, You can follow it 100% or you can follow it 75%. It's really up to you. And if you have questions around it and you want to talk to me about it later, I'm happy to offer my suggestions. This is also kind of the Laura way of doing things. And so you can put your own flair into it, your own colors and all that kind of stuff. So some final thoughts around that. Do you have to do it all? Do you? A lot of times the things that you're spending time on are things that doesn't really matter. And I'm guilty of that as well. And that's where at least if we can focus most of our time in that calendar on the big rocks, like I always say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So don't focus on winning your whole week. Focus on winning a morning and then building on that. I want to put in here, and I didn't, I should have added it, but it just came to me, 66-day challenge. And I can print them out for you, for all of you, but if you tried this for 66 days, because Joel, I know I have a feeling that part of what you're thinking is, why doesn't it work for me? I've heard these things before. I've attended the classes. I have a goal for the year. Why do I not follow my calendar?
Well, I know, I know
Why?
it's, 'cause I jump around a lot.
Okay,
And I have two other jobs that I do.
which you want to block them into your calendar too then, right?
Well, die.
Yeah, can't really block that one.
Yeah, well, that-
What's the other job? I know you do that one.
I do drive by.
Oh, okay. You could probably put that one in your calendar though.
Oh.
So,
Oh, I know, I mean,
if you could do it for 66 days and create a new habit around it,
my biggest thing is the morning. I gotta win the morning. By noon, I know about the other.
right, there you go. Okay.
So,
You know, not if you failed, you know if you've won the day.
So what if, Joel, what if you just scheduled your morning?
Right.
well, that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna do it till noon and.
Go try that
stuff I wanna
first.
add to my thing that I've always said, I need to do mindset stuff. I need to read. I have all these books I want to read. I need to read half an hour every day, or whatever that is. So yeah, I need to, like, probably I'm here at 8 o'clock in the morning mostly. So if I do 8 to 9, read and mindset stuff, 9 to 11, read Jan. That's a win for me.
There you go.
But, you know,
Okay.
those two things, that's a win.
And are you your own business owner? So do you get to define what wins are for you? Yeah, maybe a little bit, talk to your wife about it, but because you got some family goals, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to do it all. Think about those big rocks, create a plan and execute on it. I would probably add there, if I go in and change this, I would add 66-day challenge right there. Man, I can print those sheets out for you and give them to you. You know what I'm talking about, the 66-day challenge sheet. I'm actually doing one at home for weight loss right now. I've just started it on Monday. And then focus on winning the day. And again, we talked about that. If you win enough days, you win the week. If you win enough weeks, you win the month. If you win enough months, you win the year. And then obviously the bold law around this one.
Not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
So any other final thoughts? Was this helpful today? Oh, good.
Look at that.
Thank you. It's okay. It's laminated.
I did that. I thought it was good.
See, that's good.
That's, I know.
Laminated.
When is the way you should do it.
Like you didn't,